Now, each Sunday we say a creed, which is a kind of list of things that Christians believe in. But I thought this week we might approach it a little differently. I thought we might approach it as a game of bingo. Now, I appreciate this might seem rather irreverent to some, but I thought it might change how we approach and think about some of the things we say week on week in church. So, the usual rules of bingo will apply. Does everyone have a bingo card? Does everyone have a bingo dabber? The first one to get 4 in a row shouts bingo. And there is a prize at stake here. £20 book voucher for Truman Books, the finest independent bookshop in the area. There we go. So let's start. The first call. The Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life. God from God. Is it not working?
If you get them going, give it a couple of good dabs and it starts.
Yeah. My 6-year-old daughter had been using these for many hours. I thought she'd road tested most of them, but maybe there might be 1 or 2 she missed. Seen and unseen. Only Son of God. Resurrection of the dead. One holy, Catholic, and apostolic church. Crucified under Pontius Pilate.
4 in a row.
Oh, you've won it. Hang on, this all seems a bit bent. Do we give Rob the prize?
No, it goes to house.
Does it go to house? Okay, we'll keep going. Oh, we got one. There we go. All right. You're not guessing it, Rob. There you go. Spend it wisely. Because creeds are a rather funny business, aren't they? I think, what was that? We're going to go for a full house. I can keep going if everyone wants to hear the rest of them. It is a good list. Okay, we'll keep going just so we can... forgiveness of sins. One baptism. Okay. Ascended into heaven. Yeah, the prize is gone, I'm afraid. He will come again in glory. We believe. Begotten, not made. Light from light. He rose again. One being with the Father. There we go. Woo! There we go. Well done, everybody. Okay. Okay. Creeds are a rather funny business. I think occasionally they can feel like a slightly flat part of the service where we recite certain familiar words that we know oh so well, but do we necessarily think them through as we're saying them? I think sometimes maybe we are thinking quite hard as we say them and we start to think, do I necessarily believe that? Some weeks getting 4 in a row on this card can feel like a challenge for some, let alone being able to tick off the whole card. And I've been thinking recently, what does it mean to believe? What does it mean when we say collectively, we believe? One conclusion I've certainly reached is your faith is not a bingo card. God is not a distant bingo caller. Someone is not out there winning all the prizes, while you struggle to get 4 in a row. Faith is not about being able to mark things off on a list in the hope of eventually getting a prize. There's more at work when we're saying a creed. Like Rob said, the remarkable thing is the Nicene Creed is 1,700 years old this year. 1,700 years. We usually get excited when something reaches its 50th anniversary, but 1,700 years? Because the Nicene Creed is the only thing outside of the Bible that all Christian denominations agree on. Pretty much. Roman Catholics, Greek Orthodox, Protestants feel they can all get behind the Nicene Creed. So what was going on in the year 325 when a group of Christian bishops met in the city of Nicaea, which is in modern-day Turkey, to formulate the creed? Were they effectively just looking for a nice shopping list of things that we could believe in and recite on a Sunday, which might be a good kind of marketing idea? Of course not. It was a really interesting time in history. A few years before, in 313, the Roman Emperor Constantine had decriminalized Christianity. For the first time, Christians didn't have to meet in secret. They weren't enemies of the Roman Empire. Constantine himself had been baptized, and Christianity found itself on the slow and steady path to becoming the official religion of the Roman Empire. But Constantine quickly realized that there was a bit of a problem. It became apparent to him that Christians had a rather unfortunate habit of arguing endlessly amongst themselves about small technical details. I mean, who knew that Christians could be so quarrelsome? I guess certain things haven't changed so much in 1,700 years. So Constantine had a light bulb moment. He told the Christian leaders to get together and to sort things out. But what had the Christians been arguing about? Because for the 300 years since his crucifixion, Christians had been trying to figure out the nature of Jesus. Was he God? Was he human? What was he exactly? And a priest called Arius thought he'd found the answer. Arius, who apparently was a very charismatic man, very good singer, singer-songwriter apparently, said, I know Jesus is divine and he's holy, but he's not quite God. He's a kind of lower creature created by God. He's somehow secondary, despite the fact he is divine. And I think before we all pile on and dismiss Arius as some dangerous heretic, I think we've got to step back and think that actually maybe some of us can relate to what Arius was saying. For a lot of people, God can seem distant in their day-to-day lives. When we're up to our elbows in the grime of our lives, whether it's work or family, God can seem far away. Our own concerns can seem secondary to God. Maybe they're not quite worthy. But the bishops at Nicaea rejected that sort of thinking. Arius was wrong. At the heart of the creed is a really simple idea. It's what drives the whole thing. When God came to meet humanity, God didn't send second-hand offcuts. He sent the very best of himself. When Jesus and the Holy Spirit come into the world, God comes into our lives wholeheartedly and without limitations. Arius was wrong. Jesus and the Holy Spirit are the very best of God. We don't get second best. God has come close. Like it says in the Creed, God from God, light from light, true God from true God. We get to share in the very best of God. That's what sits at the heart of the Creed. It's not 16 minor propositions on a bingo card that we've got to try and tick off. It's a guiding reality that we can live by. God has drawn near. That is what the Creed is there to remind us of. Your faith is not a bingo card. God is not a distant bingo master. When we say the Creed together, God is drawing closer. God has come to be with us in the dirt and grime and fullness of our lives. You know, to believe is not simply to nod along while we recite a list of things. To be a believer is to live our lives in light of those things, to take part in a community of believers. In our first reading today, we have one of the great biblical stories about what it means to believe. Jacob, who's about to confront the brother he has betrayed, finds himself wrestling with a stranger, and they wrestle all night long. And after the stranger has disconnected his hip, the mysterious figure says, "You have striven, you have wrestled with God, and you have prevailed." Faith, when we say we believe, it isn't neat, it isn't tidy. God has drawn close to us, so close that we get to wrestle. The Nicene Creed was part of that wrestling. Like Jacob, we end up messy and probably limping. But we're changed by the encounter, just like those Christians were at Nicaea in 325. Your faith, the Creed, is not a bingo card. When we say the Creed together, God is drawing close. It's that simple. When we say the Creed, when we chat with a friend at the back of church, when we're standing with at the school gates collecting the kids, when we're sat next to a dying family member in hospital, Jesus and the Holy Spirit are there with us. We don't have to settle for second best. It's like what Rob spoke about last week. Believing isn't intellectual. It's taking part. We don't just say the Creed, we live the Creed out. Faith is not a bingo card. Faith is not neat, it's not tidy, it's lived. As Rob said, today we'll be celebrating the marriage of Elise and Andrea at the second service. And God is with them as they seek out things that are seen and unseen, as they're drawn into this community of believers. God has drawn near. To believe is to become part of this community of saints that for the past 1700 years have said together the Nicene Creed. And so it would therefore be a great honor if we could say together the Creed.